Welcome to the Cycling Demystified 12 Days of Bike Fitting. If this is your first time here, I'm your host, Wei, lead bike fitter of Foundation Bike Fit, and I'll be joined by my fellow fitter Matt and our in-house mechanic Ev from Frequency Cycle Works. 2024 has been an amazing year for the podcast, and as we near the end of the year, we wanted to create a little something extra to say thanks to all of you for listening, for your feedback and for all of your support. So what we've done is asked bike fitters from around the world and friends of the podcast to contribute an actionable bike fit tip to help you find even more comfort, efficiency and performance in 2025. Each day in the lead up till Christmas, we will play one tip and then the team and I will explore each tip in a bit more detail so you can get the most from all these nuggets of gold. Welcome to day 5, and Dan Smith from UK Bike Fit is going to give us his tip.
Hello to the Cycling Demystified listeners. My name's Dan from UK Bike Fit, and I've been asked by Wei to give you a tip or a thought to get you thinking about your own bike fit. So the thing that I want you to think about is how your feet are connected to the pedal. So some specific things to think about would be, is your whole foot planted to the insole of the shoe at all times through the pedal stroke? Is your foot relaxed, or do you feel like you're crunching your toes and getting a lot of tension in the foot? Do both feet feel the same, or are there any major differences going on between your left and right foot? And also, at what point of the downstroke are you producing force? Are you unable to produce force just as you go over the top of the pedal stroke and having to wait until maybe 3 or 4 o'clock of the pedal stroke before you can actually produce power? Or are you able to push through the whole pedal stroke with both feet at all times?
Yes, mate. Dan's spitting truths.
I mean, as bike fitters, we do spend a lot of time with feet. And I guess it's a bit like ski boot fitters. You know, like your feet, they're the fixed point, which is attached directly to the bike. But like, you know, to your skis, like your boots attached to the skis directly. And so there is a direct connection. So if that connection between feet, shoes, bike is not ideal, or you're flopping around, or there's some gaps, or there's some movement, then you're losing something.
I think we can be a lot more straight and direct about it.
Go on then.
So, whilst you're levitating at whatever speed you're going on your very expensive carbon fibre object, your nervous system is in chaos because your body doesn't know where it is in relation to the ground. And your body likes to know where it is in relation to the ground.
You're a land-based creature.
You are a land-based creature, not levitating about 1.5 foot off the floor on a carbon fibre object. And your only connection to what is effectively your new ground or your floor on the bicycle is your connection through the foot and the shoe on the pedal. And that is all you have. So you better damn well make it a good connection. Otherwise, you are A&1 doing yourself a massive disservice in terms of your stability. You're losing power, and you're just basically, your nervous system is going to be working overtime to try and kind of figure out where you are in space. And that is not good for things like, you know, stress, immunity, all that kind of stuff. So your feet are arguably the most important contact point on the bike. And it rages me to the nines that people pick shoes based on how they look, not how they fit, right? Yeah. We all want the spangly RC white 903s that, you know, our Lord and Saviour Mathieu van der Poel has. But if your feet don't fit in that shoe, they are not fit for purpose. So Dan's hit the nail right on the head. The connection between your foot and the shoe is super important. Not only in producing force, but stabilizing you on the body and calming your nervous system down so that you're using less energy to support yourself in space and relative to gravity. Ran over. Well, part 1 over.
Are you saying that saddle's not the most important part about bike?
I would arguably say that feet are harder to get right than saddle position. Like, you've got a lot more leeway with your saddle position than you have with your connection to your foot.
We tend to see feet as your foundation.
Yeah.
So you build from the feet upwards. Otherwise, you could, mess around with saddles, and if your feet are still flopping around, you're still going to be uncomfortable in the saddle. So better to build like kind of ground upwards,
And he also makes an interesting point, a good point as well, is that you should be able to sense the whole of the shoe with your foot. So if you are pressing on the pedals and all you can feel is kind of like your first met heads, or like maybe your big toe, your ball of your foot, and you can't feel back towards the arch and let alone the heel, then you are completely leaving stuff on the table. So
May as well just run through a ball pit.
well, you just kind of like, walking around on marshmallows, aren't you? So it just misses the point. So the more surface area you have of the shoe and your foot to distribute the load as you press on the pedal, the more stability you're going to create, the more force you're going to generate, the more evenly that force is going to be applied, assuming that the rest of your bike position is in a good place, the more power you're going to get, which is ultimately what we all want, because that's what we care about, is power, and then you're going to be in a happy place. So getting your feet, shoes, insoles, foot correction, whether that's wedging, shimming, whatever that is, right, is arguably like the first thing to address with your bike fit. So I got a bit ratcheted.
Yeah, but it is so important. We like to use the analogy of if you're asking your body to do a high level of work, generate a lot of power on the bike, and we equate this to, say, doing some heavy lifting at the gym. Not even heavy lifting, just some kind of lifting at the gym. If you have your feet connected to the floor fully, so the front of your foot's on the floor, the rear of your foot's on the floor, and both feet are on the floor, then you're nice and stable, and you can push through the whole of your foot, and you can lift an object easily. Now, we kind of want to achieve the same on the bike. So as Matt was saying, the shoe essentially becomes the floor when you're riding your bike. But just say, for example, you feel all the weight into the front of your foot when you're riding your bike and you don't feel any connection through your heel. This is essentially the same as being in the gym and walking around on your tiptoes and trying to lift weights just on your tiptoes, because you're just pushing all the way through the front of your foot and not kind of loading through the rear of the foot. Now, you might be able to do that, but it just requires a lot more effort than having the whole of your foot in contact with the floor.
And this has ramifications in how you produce force as well.
Yeah.
So the more you press into the front of your foot, the more you will load muscles like the calf and the quad. And as a consequence, you will load up your knee a lot more. Yeah. And then it becomes harder to recruit muscles in the posterior chain, such as your glutes.
Yeah.
So these muscles are predisposed to do different things.
Yeah.
So quads and calves, very powerful muscles designed to produce lots of force, but for a very short period of time. Whereas, your glutes can produce a lot of force, but also help provide stability.
Yeah.
So, and the only way you can kind of do that is by having certain parts of your foot activated and in contact with a stable surface.
Yeah. So, getting your feet right, or feeling that you're getting the most out of your feet, really important. And of course, having the right shape shoe, as you were saying earlier, Matt, to enable your feet to keep their natural form and not feel too compressed, or there's too much room inside the foot, so inside the shoe, so you're kind of moving around. So it's got to be Goldilocks.
Yeah.
It's got to be just right.
Snug but not constrictive.
There you go. And have a think about it whilst you're riding, because we don't really think about our feet, do we, when you're riding, unless you're in pain most of the time. I don't know. I think I understand where you're coming from, because like a lot of people make a lot of concessions
in the name of fashion.
Yeah, and I don't know, a lot of that is just driven by shoe companies as well.
But there are solutions out there, regardless of the shape of your foot. You just have to do a bit of reading and homework, or seek out advice to find that solution.
Yeah, spend time on your feet. It's well worth it. So
And also, this is not sponsored. It's not a plug. But it's there's a chap called Gary Ward. If you want to learn about feet, go and see Gary Ward's website. It's called Anatomy in Motion.
Yep.
And he has an online course called Wake Up Your Feet. It is a great introduction into how your feet should function.
it's great. Yeah, it's like an online course. Costs like 30 quid.
Yeah.
You get that for life, and yeah, it just takes you through how your feet should be interacting and what you can do to kind of help your feet and get them into really healthy shape. So it's good stuff. But yeah, thanks Dan, good tips. Thanks for listening, and tune in tomorrow for another bike fit tip from the Cycling Demystified 12 Days of Bike Fitting. If you've enjoyed what you've heard or found any of the information has made a difference for your riding, we would be super grateful if you could do two things. Firstly, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star rating or review, as this really helps other riders find our podcast and access the same useful information you've been enjoying. Secondly, tell your friends on the next group ride to give us a listen. The more you can spread the word, the more riders can find a better ride. Thanks again, and catch you on the next one.
Suffering from numb hands, tingling toes, and any other persistent discomforts when you ride? These are all signs that your bike fit could be improved. If you're bike fit curious, get in touch with Way or Matt by emailing info@foundation.fit or finding them on Instagram @FDN_bikefit. Finally, for all your bike servicing needs, custom dream bike or hand-built wheels, go to www.frequencycycleworks.com or find me on Instagram @frequencycycleworks. Until next time, keep on spinning.